Hello, this is Dr. Garrett Castleberry, our guide through the video syllabus for COM 2113, Media Culture and Social Influence. The purpose of this video is to talk about the midterm writing analysis in COM 2113 and explore what our goals are and how it ties into the major themes of the course. As I mentioned in a previous entry, a key philosophy in this class is that we are going to use popular culture as a way to better understand the ideas, namely the theories and methods that we read about in regards to the discipline of communication. Well, the midterm is a culmination of these early weeks exercises and readings to help us create some synergy between these notions. In week 2, there's going to be an exercise where we're essentially working on a cultural studies themed project. We're going to look at a documentary that is about our genre of choice in the course, the spy genre, and then we're going to apply some of the observations that we make in a way that is meaningful toward understanding essentially the broad strokes of cultural studies. And the midterm is a next step in that process. Here we're asking you to examine two films, two mediated cultural artifacts and from different eras, and compare and contrast them. And so the first artifact is designed to be one of the earliest entries in the 007 James Bond film series, all right? And so when we say the early entries, we're really talking about the films that were produced and distributed in the 1960s and the 1970s, although we might even be a little bit flexible going into the early 80s. Basically, we're asking that you research and report on either an iteration from the originator, Sean Connery, of the role of 007, or his follow-ups, George Lazenby and Roger Moore. So one of those earliest Bond entries would satisfy that early cultural text. And there's a point behind this. And we're looking at encouraging you to find that point, to be able to make those critiques as you flesh out your midterm analysis. Well, to satisfy the other end of that, it's a comparison analysis, and so we need a comparison text. In early iterations of this course, we task students with then looking at a late or more recent James Bond iteration, the likes of Timothy Dalton or Pierce Brosnan. And certainly we've seen in recent years, even almost decades, Daniel Craig. And what we're looking at through selecting a second, more recent or contemporary Bond feature is kind of weighing the past with the relatively recent present. And what we get out of that is an understanding of maybe one set of cultural norms and how they've gravitated or evolved into a newer set of cultural norms. Well, what are cultural norms? And what this, of course, will be fed by the readings that we get into. But really what we're talking about is the way that society is reflected in and by and through media. And even though these films are escapist fantasy in some regards, action, adventure, feature films, they do still reflect qualities about society. And I think that is where we can gravitate toward and latch on to some key takeaways that you will make in your observations. However, I did put a pin in that because, as I suggested, more recently we've allowed students to venture outside of the realm of the James Bond series of films, as those have been critiqued and maybe fairly as too limiting. However, to be effective about what we're doing in the exercise, we gain value by comparing two texts within the same narrative genre, all right? And so at the very least, we want that second text to still remain within the spy film genre. So you can look at something very rudimentary or kind of early modern in terms of that film text, but then compare it to something increasingly contemporary, right? There should be at least a 2 to 3 decade difference between the films that you're comparing and contrasting. But we can look at features like, of course, the Mission Impossible film series is a popular choice. There are many other variations on the spy genre. In fact, with superheroes being a very popular and often family-friendly text series in recent years, features like Black Panther or even more recently Black Widow do tinker with and experiment with the spy genre within their main focus as a superhero film. And so we can locate spy texts in a number of directions. More adult dramas in recent years include Steven Spielberg's Bridge movie. Well, now I'm forgetting what it's called. That's a classic guffaw on my part. But we do have a number of artifacts, and of course, this can be part of the fun research trail, right? Is digging up lists and sort of exploring them for what we might be interested in checking out. But essentially the analysis doesn't work if we're not comparing within the same genre. So that is ultimately our goal. And if you have questions, never hesitate to reach out to your instructor on that front. And hopefully this will allow us to have some universal takeaways in the concluding sections of these midterm comparison analyses. And oh, by the way, don't forget about Arthur Asa Berger's 5 points of analysis that he will reveal in key readings. And the focal points model is meant to serve as a tool for us to be able to effectively and efficiently answer the questions of criticism with these media artifacts. All right. So good luck with your decisions. Good luck writing that midterm final. And don't forget to take some notes as you're watching the media, because taking notes or maybe typing along as you screen it can really unlock that writerly potential within you. And we look forward to reviewing your work and seeing what observations you make in the assignment, the midterm for Com 2113, Media Culture and Social Influence.